Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this professional development on tools for teaching and integrating SEL. I'm so glad you're here today. I know it's a busy time of year as the school year winds down. So it's wonderful that you've made time to come here to learn about social emotional learning. And we're going to talk a lot about taking care of ourselves as teachers today. So let's go ahead and get started because I know your time is very precious. And I just want you to know that this is being recorded. You have the option to have your camera on and or off. It's always wonderful if when you're speaking, either here in breakout rooms, if you have your camera on so that we can see you. It helps build our community here online. You will receive this recording along with all the information from this professional development and your CTLE credit information in a follow-up email. Take a moment here to look over our meeting norms. I promised this blue one, we will start and end on time. I ask that you try to the very best of your ability to be here now. Again, I know you had a lot going on before you came here and you have a lot to do afterwards. So take this time to really take an inquiry stance and take away as much as you can from this professional development today. So let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Caroline Hopenwasser. I am an instructional consultant for Solved. So Solved is the group providing the professional development. The content comes from the New York State Ed Grant TAIL Academy, and TAIL stands for Teaching Across Learning Environments. And the goal of that is to take what we learned and had to do during the pandemic and keep the best parts of that and make them even better. So we'll be thinking a lot about what we've taken away from the pandemic as in regards to self-care and taking care of our students. All right, so just so you know, I have a PhD in literacy and I have 20 plus years as an educator, both as a public school teacher, and then I also taught teacher preparation at SUNY New Paltz. It would be so wonderful if you could, if you haven't already, some of you just got right to work, type in the chat the grades and the subjects you teach, or if you have a different role in your school, what that is. And Clarice, namaste to you as well. That's a very fitting greeting for our professional development today. I love to see all the different grades that show up when I do these professional developments for Solved. I see grade 5, I see art, 3K, 6 and 7 science and health, director of a daycare. There is so much happening. So here's what's wonderful, what we can have pre-K through 12th grade, and everyone can get something out of this today. So I look forward to hearing your sharing from your experiences in your different realms where you work with children and teachers. So keep putting who you are in the chat, and I'm going to go over the agenda today. So we have some essential questions. Why is educator well-being essential for high-quality teaching? So yes, we're going to be talking about the well-being of teachers and how we can make it strong, because it is essential for our kids to be successful. And our other essential question is, how can you as a teacher incorporate more wellness rituals across learning environments? So we want to understand the value of well-being practices for educators and make a plan to regularly engage in wellness. Consider the benefits of modeling well-being routines for students across learning environments and identify strategies for supporting your own mental health and regulation across learning environments. So welcome all of you different wonderful people from all over New York. Let's get to it. Let's start here. So we have what I call a note catcher. I'm going to put a link to it in the chat. This document has access to everything that you're going to need today. So go ahead and put your link in and make a copy, and you will have access to everything we're doing today very easily. So you'll start with the slide deck that you can review later. And right now we're going to do this activity where we take a moment to think about our own mental health. But first I want to talk to you a little about SEL. So go ahead and open your note catcher, and then let's look at this wheel. So this is the social and emotional learning. These are the segments that are used by Castle as well as New York State. So if you're not familiar with these terms, I have put them in your note catcher so that you can look at them. We talk about them in more detail in sections A and B of this professional development that you can go and find on the Solved website if you're interested. But basically, it's broken down into categories of self-management and self-awareness. So those are the social emotional learning components that are internal. We have social awareness and relationship skills. So that's dealing with others. So we have self, others, and responsible decision-making, which crosses both. So that is our definition for New York State of what social emotional learning is. So let's start a little bit with the self today and think about this. And this is a great question. How are you really? So we pass each other in the hallways or wherever we happen to be and say, how are you today? And you say, oh, I'm fine. Everything's good. So glad it's summer's coming. But that may not be your truth. So what I'd like you to do, I'm going to set a timer and we're going to take a moment to fill this out on the note catcher. At this moment, right now, what's on your mind or in your heart, and you can make your list as long as you need. How are you doing today, really? And what are one or two things you have done or will do today to support your own well-being? And if the answer is nothing, that's okay too, because we will be discussing what you might do today. So if you're just coming in, we're taking 3 minutes. I'm setting a timer to look on our note catcher. I just put the link into the chat again if you've just come in. Oh dear. Make sure you've made a copy so that you have your own. And we're doing this activity. So you have 3 minutes. I'm going to be quiet while you think about how you are really right now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm trying to get onto the link, but it's not allowing me to get on. I don't
It's
know.
not allowing you
Well,
to?
it's not opening. I'm clicking on it. I don't know. Let me try something else. I'll try something else. 1 minute.
Okay. You can also just write this on a piece of paper and you'll be sent this note catcher as well in an email.
Okay. So we need it right now to do activity.
You'll be able to see them on the screen. It's just a convenience, but it's not
Okay,
necessary.
all right. I'm
We
trying to
can
put,
make it work. It's the end of the school year and we're just going to make it work.
okay, thank you. I'm just trying. I'm still trying.
I am sorry that's not working for you, Sandra. All right, if you have been working on this, I would love for you to share with us. And I am here for you to be very honest. So tell us how you're feeling, either in the chat or you're welcome to unmute and talk to us directly about what's on your mind or in your heart, how you are today, or anything that you have done to take care of yourself today.
Okay, so I'm Angela. I teach middle school science, 6th and 7th. Well, 6th grade I teach science and health, and 7th grade I teach health. I am tired. I am ready for this school year to be done and behind me. How I feel today is I'm thankful that I made it thus far, because And what are things that I'm going to do? Well, I already booked my trips. So I'm going home to go sort through clothes. That's going to make me happy because that means I'm closer to being on a boat or a plane.
Oh, Angela, thank you so much for sharing. I believe that if we could do a show of hands, everyone would agree that they were all tired and ready for this school year to be over. That's how school years, unfortunately, they just make us so tired by the end. I see someone else who's exhausted and frustrated. It's been an exhausting school year and we still have assessments to complete, Robin says. Noelle says it's been overwhelming. So that is all the people who've responded so far are sharing your overwhelm and exhaustion. So I think it's amazing, one, that y'all are here today. I know you have to get your CTLE credits, but still, good work for being here. And Angela, thank you for sharing some ways that you're keeping yourself happy. You're going home and plan your getaway. So is there anyone else who has something they're doing to help themselves feel better or that works to feel better at this time of year?
Hi, I'm Charmaine, and I feel the same way like Angelica. I just put that on my in my chat thing here. One of the things that I do when I go home is to take a moment for myself, relax. Maybe sometimes I get a cup of tea or I take a relaxing bath or a shower.
Lovely. Yeah, sometimes just a beautiful beverage of choice. Not necessarily alcoholic, just a beautiful beverage of choice. I like to get a special, my husband and I have one of those Nespresso pod things, and just taking a break to say that was school and now I'm home. Some people have working out, they have walking and taking mental breaks. Hilda's taking a nap after the PD. Wonderful. If we lose Hilda, we'll know that Hilda started the nap early. So we're going to think more about that. And we're also going to think, thank you, Hilda. I'm glad you thought that was funny. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know. Robin says, I sit in my car for 10 minutes to relax from all the traffic. Yeah, it doesn't have to be huge, but it's so essential that we as educators find ways to take care of ourselves. And we're going to talk today about why. And honestly, there shouldn't have to be a why. It just makes sense, right? As people, you should take care of yourselves. But as educators, there's so much pressure put on us. We take care of children. And therefore, that is more important than anything else. So now we're going to be able to say, well, if I don't take care of myself, I'm not able to take care of the children. And here's how I take care of them better. So let's see next. So throughout this PD, I've put in teeny tiny mindfulness moments for you. So one of my favorite things to do is breathe, because you can do that anywhere anytime, and no one even has to know you're doing it. So I love to do these cards with kids of all ages as well as teachers, and the link to them will be in the materials that you get. It's on your note catcher, and if you haven't been able to open that yet, you'll get that in your follow-up email. But these just have simple directions. So I'm going to add a little bit to this. We're just going to breathe, but we're going to breathe in through our nose and out through our nose. And we're going to follow the arrows, and you're going to follow my arrow, go up the arrow. So it's going to be really slow. And I want you to breathe deep into your belly. So let's breathe in. Breathe out. In. Out. And just feel that in your body. Feel the breath and how it affects your body. And let's talk about, you can keep breathing like that too, why we should care about social emotional learning, social emotional skills for educators. So listen to this research. Teachers are more likely than the general population to experience job-related stress and symptoms of depression. 1 in 4 teachers considered leaving their jobs by the end of the 2020-21 school year. And so we know that was the pandemic year, but it didn't get better, it got harder. And even though we've come back to school, talking to as many educators as I do and teaching educators, I know that it's still that hard. It didn't get remarkably, miraculously easier. We have children who've experienced trauma due to the pandemic. We've experienced trauma, and we're expected to act like it's fine now because we came back to school. So of course, teachers are experiencing job-related stress and symptoms of depression. It's more than my husband, who's a data engineer and sits in his office down at the other end of my house. So Angela says it really did get harder, and the children, oh my Lord. How many of you are out there thinking, oh my Lord? Yes. So adult well-being has been shown to have an effect on student well-being, motivation to learn, overall school climate, and school academic performance. So your well-being can be directly correlated to your students' well-being and also their academic performance. So that's why we have to care about teacher social and emotional well-being. This quote I love: taking care of myself is taking care of my students. So this is from a teacher who's a 2nd grade teacher in New York, who's been in school as a teacher for 30 years. She says when the children returned to in-person learning from COVID, they had to be retaught everything. Let me know in the chat if this is your experience. From sitting in their seats to active listening to learning how to take turns. So it's exhausting. So you can relate, just like many teachers across our state, that you're just too exhausted to helping students recover from the challenges of the pandemic to help yourself. But here's what we want to remember. If I help myself and reinvest in my own social and emotional health, I am helping my students recover. So now you're coming to the end of the school year. And I know for teachers, the school year doesn't ever start. You stop, you try to have a vacation, but then you start thinking about next year. But it's also a time where you can try some new things. And I want you to think about through this PD, what are new rituals for self-care that you can start this summer? And we'll also start thinking about how you can then come in and model them for your students. Wow, I'm seeing a lot of agreement here in the chat that it's gotten so much harder. So yes, so I can't make it easier, but what I want to help you do is find ways in small pockets of time to take care of yourself. All right, so we're going to watch this short video together on the role of mindfulness for teachers. So you can either take notes, you can just sit there and breathe and listen, but afterwards I want you to be able to tell me in the chat what stands out to you, what's interesting, what resonates, or what questions you have. And please let me know. I believe I've shared this with the sound, but sometimes I am wrong. So let me know in the chat if you can't hear this.
The role teachers play in our children's lives is complex. Beyond simply teaching academics, teachers tune into each student's unique background and abilities. At the same time, they must juggle new curriculum, new technology, high-stakes testing, and many other demands. These are just some of the reasons why teachers find themselves in one of the most stressful professions. Learning to manage the stress is key to preventing burnout. But how do you do that? One way is to incorporate mindfulness into your daily life.
I really like the definition of mindfulness by Jon Kabat-Zinn, who said that mindfulness is living in the present moment on purpose, non-judgmentally. And he often adds, as if our lives depended on it. And in some respects, our lives do depend on it, because it is that capacity to be aware of ourselves and to recognize, wow, I am here, but I'm not really here. I'm in this classroom with 24 children, but my mind is finishing an argument that I had with my spouse last night. Or my mind is worrying about what my teenage child might have gotten into last weekend. Or my mother is ill and we're struggling with whether she's going to have to go into some kind of a facility. I mean, these are things that all people in all professions have to deal with. But when you're a teacher and you're in the presence of 24 young people, and if you're not completely there, all kinds of things can go awry.
So mindfulness is not about replacing negative thoughts with positive thoughts, or forcing our thoughts to be different or to have fewer thoughts. It's really about applying the medicine of awareness and non-judgmental presence to the activities of the mind. So for example, if a thought drifts in about, I'm worried about what's going to happen 6 months from now with my work situation, for example, I could go into that story and go into ruminating and worrying and really live there and kind of see the scene play out of whatever it is that I'm concerned about. Or I could just notice that thought that I'm worried about the future, and then come back to the breath, come back to this very moment right now. What am I feeling? And shift the relationship to the thinking so that I'm not just fully fused with it and following the train of thought.
When we think about it, when are we most stress-free? I would argue that we're most stress-free when we are living in the moment on purpose, non-judgmentally. And that could be playing with your children, or taking a walk in the park, or listening to your favorite music, or reading a book where you're so immersed in that book, whether you're working in the garden or pursuing any kind of hobby. That kind of presence is very, very helpful for coping, recovering, and going back to school the next day and being refreshed.
Mindfulness can also be helpful inside the classroom, especially when things don't go as planned.
If we think about a scenario, and it could be at any grade level, right? A teacher has a plan for the day, and they go in, and maybe they are excited about the plan, and they go in and they begin to carry it out, and maybe they have students working in groups, which they're excited about. They really want to promote that kind of feedback between students about their academic progress. There's lots of exciting things that are going on. Well, within about the first 15 minutes, it's all going south, right? As the teacher begins to recognize half of the students aren't prepared, they didn't do the assignment, and then I've got two groups that are run amok. One student's yelling at another, and it's starting to feel out of control. And so here's where mindfulness kicks in, right? Because if it doesn't, one can get so caught up in all of that the stress begins to build, and then I'm not doing a good job of emotional management myself. Now I'm part of the problem. I'm yelling at the kids. I'm telling them how frustrated I am that they can't get their work done. Or by the way, I could also go silent. I could go just, this is, just sit down and just let it all play out because I'm not frustrated. But all of that can be best mediated if one can stop, take a moment, observe, and make a decision about how to get this back on track. It might be a decision to say, everyone just stop, please. Put your pencils down and just be with me for a moment. And in a calm voice, sort of talk it through, maybe even take a moment to engage students in a mindful activity, putting their heads on their desk and or whatever it happens to be, is a more humane and a more intelligent and ultimately more helpful solution. But failing to recognize what your mind is doing and how it's going to cause you to act, very problematic. Mindfulness is our way out. As Michael Singer, the author of The Untethered Soul, once said, and he said, look, when you learn to be aware of your thoughts, when that becomes primary, being aware of your thoughts more than thinking about your thoughts, that's your way out. That's the door to freedom.
Mindfulness is an effective way to manage stress, prevent burnout, and to be present, both at work and at home. For more information, check out the Ohio Department of Education's Well-Being Toolkit at educator.
So I'm interested in how that resonated with you. Thinking about mindfulness, what connections could you make with that? Or what questions do you have? And again, you can put them in the chat or you can come on and talk to us. I love to hear voices at the end of the day.
Yes, hello?
Yes, Charmaine.
Yes, hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. One of the things I do that they said in the video was to like stop the students, give a signal, but maybe by counting down or clapping, and then we'll do like a breathing exercise or something like that, or have them doing jumping jacks or something, and then go back and engage into the activity.
Yeah, I love that. It changes the energy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
changing the energy from whatever it was and just taking a break is such a good way to move on. And I think that if you link that with what Julie said, that something that stood out to her is that mindfulness is not to judge our thoughts, but to notice our feelings and acknowledge it and then let it go. And so one of the ways we can do that is by shifting what we're doing. So instead of being so locked into making this activity work, we say, whoa, that didn't work. Hey, everybody, this isn't working. Let's do our jumping jacks and then let's reevaluate. And that works in different ways at all different levels of schooling. Hilda puts on their favorite music and we dance for a while. Oh my God, that's so wonderful. Because we are human, it can be hard to be completely mindful, and all you want is them to have some empathy like you have too. Oh my gosh. So that's just so beautifully stated. You are human too. And so sometimes students don't know that. So part of social emotional learning is modeling not only academic things, but how to do these things that make us more human. So we're going to talk about that today too. So it's not just that, oh my gosh, I'm going to be mindful of my thoughts and I'm going to be very empathetic towards this person as a human. It's you model for your students how you do those things so that they become aware of it. What else do we have? There's a lot of great videos with, I think music is what I like, a great way to move students. There's also ways to be still. So we're going to do another mindfulness moment before we move on to thinking about practices and how to model them for students. And this I love is mindful listening. And this also tricks people into being very quiet. So if you have very loud children and you're like, wait, we've got to do our mindful listening. I want you to do a very short version of it with me. I want you to just sit comfortably and close your eyes and try to focus only on what you hear. Take time to notice all the different sounds. Notice where the sounds might be coming from and what they might be. What is the most distant thing you can hear? Or what is the closest thing you can hear? Open your eyes and put in the chat some things you hear. Birds chirping. Wonderful. Oh, Noelle says white noise helps, like water running in thunderstorms. Yes, cars. I hear my dog's nails clicking on the floor outside. An airplane, students. Just taking a moment to stop. You can do the same exercise with what do you see? You can do it with what do you smell? You can do it with all of the senses. So it's just a way to shift focus. So we're going to now talk about modeling SEL for our students. So we're going to think about all of the things we might do for self-care and those different pieces of SEL where we interact with ourselves, others, and make good decisions, and how we take them and share them with our students. So let's think about this. These are the different competencies. So here is social awareness and relationship skills. And so a teacher wellness behavior, we're going to think about what's the teacher wellness behavior and how do we model that for students. So the teacher wellness behavior would be when you are collaborating with colleagues in different variations, thinking about what makes that successful. So whether you're doing work with your grade level team, or maybe a community collaboration, you are on a committee with parents or businesses. What is it that you do to build connection and trust? And talk with students about that. So instead of just saying we have to work together, say, when I do it, these are the things that I do. And be specific about how you listen to others' perspectives, demonstrated empathy, which is what we would like them to do for us, resolved conflicts, and develop relationship skills with others. So you're taking what you do and sharing it with students. Just like when you say, we're going to write, and I'm modeling for you how to write this essay or this type of writing. I'm modeling for you how to do this social emotional learning skill. Another example is in self-awareness and self-management. And here I've put a little emotional barometer. So the teacher wellness behavior might be to openly share where you are on your own emotional barometer. Am I arriving at class feeling guilty, anxious, practical, confident? Did something make me feel stressed on the way here? And how am I going to reset and be present and effective with my students? Well, you don't have to just do that internally. You can share that with students at whatever level is appropriate for their development, so that you're teaching them to go internally, identify their behaviors, link their emotions to behavior, and think about strategies to reset. And the last one is decision making. So it's modeling for students how we make constructive choices. So when we're overwhelmed, being able to make constructive choices, our ability to do it is severely diminished. So one way is to help students know that sometimes it's hard to make decisions as an adult, and you have a process that you use. And so you share why you made the decision and how you came to it, and how they can use the same process. So it's a, what do I do and how do I effectively share it and model it for my student population? So what we're going to do now is explore a Padlet I've put together that has resources on for educators. So we have teacher resilience practices. Now this one, when you open it, I hope it's going to open to the right page. It's not. So if you go to the first one, you're going to go down to the last page, and it has a lot of different links that you can go to and explore to help you have portable practices for SEL. You also have a supporting school wellness toolkit you might investigate today. And then the last resource has a lot of links about why teacher self-care matters and how to practice it in school. So here's what you're going to do now. I'm going to put the link in the Padlet as soon as I give you the directions. You're going to open the Padlet and choose one of those boxes and look at the different hyperlinks. Each of them have a multitude of links to go to. You're going to note resources of interest and how you might implement them for yourselves and model them for your students. So you're thinking two ways. How could I use this? Would I like using this? And how could I share it with my students? I'm going to give you about 8 minutes to investigate, and then I'm going to put you in a breakout room. And in that breakout room, you'll share your ideas that you would like to try with the others in your group. So 1, choose a resource on the Padlet. 2, note what is interesting to you to model, to use yourself and model for students. And then in 8 minutes, I'll put you in a breakout room. If you have questions about that, please feel free to put them in the chat or ask them directly. So right now, here is the link to the Padlet. Just gonna go put it in twice. And I'm gonna set a timer for 8 minutes. So your job is to go and pick a resource that you would like to explore for the next 8 minutes independently. When our timer goes off, there will be a link for you to go to a breakout room. And I will put the directions back up if that is helpful. You have about 2 more minutes to explore before I open the breakout rooms for you to share your findings. All right, we're about to go to breakout rooms. So in your breakout room, if you don't mind coming off your camera, it is so helpful to other people to know that you are actually there. So in your breakout room, please take turns sharing something that you discovered that you would like to try for yourself and your idea for how to model it for students, or you can always ask the people in your group how they might do it. So here come breakout rooms. Please let me know if you have any trouble joining. I'm sorry you're having a connection problem. Carolina, I'm not sure how to, my person who helps me with these things is not here today. Are you having trouble getting into a room?
Yes, because I want the connection. And I lost the thing. I don't see nothing in the chat. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people lose connection and at different points during this, and I have to let them back in. That it's not something, there's something going on with wherever everyone is staying connected. Where are you today?
I am in the bus right now.
Yeah, that probably makes it trickier,
Brother.
but you're getting it done. So hey, we're about to come back. I'm about to call everyone back and we'll have our ending discussion. But thank you for being here on the bus. I think that is amazing.
Okay, I was reading what you put in the chat, but then I lost connection and it took a while to connect it again.
That's okay. You're going to be sent a follow-up email with all of the things and you're going to get the credit and it's going to be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Being recorded.
So I see everyone is coming back. Make sure when you come back, you've muted yourself again. And if you were unmuted, good job. That means you are out there talking to people. Yay. We're going to give everyone a second to come back who hasn't. All right. So I promised at the beginning of this, we would be done at 3:30. So we have 5 minutes and here's what we're going to do with them. I am going to share with you our last thing to think about is some goal setting. So reflect on the practices you discovered today, the discussion you had with your breakout room, and think about what's one action you can commit to in the next week to take care of your own emotional well-being and how you might model that for students. And I'd love if you're willing to share what that practice might be in the chat. I also want to share with you that this is in our SEL courses. Solved has 3. You're in the last one. So if you want to know more about this, the importance of social emotional learning and creating it in the classroom, and more about those competencies, you are more than welcome after you've recovered for the end of the school year to go on the Solved website, and you can either sign up for these will be coming again next school year, or you can watch the recording there for those count as CTLE credits too. And I love that Sandra has put in, please excuse me that I'm stressed today and I keep misspelling words, and I apologize. And you don't have to apologize to us, any of us here, for misspelling words at the end of the day in the chat. We're sending you all the love. Nobody here is judging you at all. So know that exists. And in just a moment, I'm going to put your last thing I would really appreciate you doing, which is leaving some feedback in our very short PD feedback form. So, but I appreciate that some people have put in here what it is they're going to do. I will take time to breathe because I think we don't breathe. Yeah, we don't breathe enough in this country and probably the world. We don't breathe enough, and we don't breathe enough down deep into our belly. So when you breathe into your chest, the science of that is that makes you feel stressed, because that is the breathing that you do for fight or flight. And when you want to calm down, you've got to bring your breath down slow and low. I need to take time to breathe and relax when I am home. I need to try to find time for friends and family. Yes, even just small things with friends and family. In our chat room, we discussed about implementing 5 minutes of breathing exercises. This will be done in between lessons. That's wonderful. Just taking time for breathing. And again, the cards, the mindfulness cards and the breath cards that I showed you today are linked. I have the link to those on your note catcher, which will come to you in the follow-up email. So again, for anyone who missed it, you'll get a follow-up email from Solved, that is your CTLE credits, the link to the recording, as well as this note catcher that has all of this information. So if you could please take a moment, hold on one second, I lost it. Did I close it? I must have closed it. And I don't know if that's, okay. I'm gonna put a link to a PD form so you can help Solved and me continue to improve our work for you. So hold on one second while I pull that link. And as soon as you open it, you can stay here and finish it. That's fine. But if you want to then go, you're more than welcome to do so. So here's the link to that. And thank you so much. And please take good care of yourselves here at the end of the semester. Take time to breathe. Take time to reach out to friends, even if it's just sending cute memes and texts. And take care of each other out in your building. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you have the link open and you're ready to go, it is 3:30 as promised. You are free to leave. And I hope that you have a very wonderful end of school and a great summer. Thank you for coming today.